Gwinnett County now to former President Donald Trump's latest bid in the Georgia election interference case. Well, Trump's legal team is now asking the Court of Appeals to hear oral arguments to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. So this comes as the Court of Appeals considered Trump's request to remove Willis for alleged misconduct. Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee previously ruled that Willis could actually stay on the case. Well, according to statistics, and this puts it into perspective, the court has only granted oral argument cases 32% to 41% of the time since 2019. So if the new request is granted, oral arguments could begin in October. Just last week, the Georgia Appeals Court put a halt to the election case. It adds that no Superior Court proceedings can be held until the Appeals Court decides whether or not Judge Scott McAfee's disqualification ruling can stand. Trump's lead attorney, Steve Sadow, released a statement following the filing saying, quote, "We believe oral argument will assist the court by highlighting and clarifying the reasons why the case should be dismissed and Fulton County DA Fani Willis should be disqualified for her misconduct," end quote.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We have to talk about a shocking moment that happened during this interview between Kaitlin Collins and Nathan Hot Dog Wade. Now, for whatever reason, probably because Nathan Wade is not that smart, okay, he doesn't seem to be the sharpest tool in the shed. He is doing these interviews with the mainstream liberal media after being forcibly removed from the Fani Willis RICO case against Trump because of the apparent conflict of interest that he has with Fani Willis and the defendants because of his relationship with Fani Willis, okay? And again, for whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure why this guy continues to talk to the media, even though Fani Willis is still facing disqualification. In fact, the RICO trial is on hold until the Georgia Appeals Court can decide whether or not Fani Willis can stay on the case. Now, you would think that an intelligent individual would not talk, not speak to the media while this disqualification is still in play, because it could potentially cause issues for Fani Willis in regards to staying on the case. However, because again, this guy is not very smart, he is continuing to talk to the media. And Kaitlin Collins actually asked Nathan Wade a good question that has to do with his relationship with Fani Willis, that Nathan Wade's team desperately did not want Nathan Wade to answer, okay? So much that they stopped the interview. They paused the interview after Kaitlin Collins asked this question, and it became clear that Nathan Wade is so dumb that he was actually going to answer this question. And they had to remove Nathan Wade and to give him a pep talk, okay, on what he should say after Kaitlin Collins asked that question. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What is your current relationship with the district attorney?
Just as outlined earlier, we are great friends. We speak regularly. The conversation has changed, though, whereas before our conversations were about this case. I'm sure you could imagine and appreciate the amount of time that it takes, that you have to pour into a case a case of this magnitude, trying to prosecute those defendants. But our conversations have shifted to how are you handling the threats that are coming your way? Are you being safe? And democracy, the case will live on, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, what he actually really means is that they're friends with benefits, right? That he's still clapping them cheeks, okay? I mean, this is what he's saying, okay? This is what he's saying without actually really saying it. They're not talking about how safe Fani Willis is and if, she's in danger. They're not talking about that, okay? He's talking about when the next time I can slide through, right? That's what he's talking about, okay? There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Just to clarify, when did the romantic relationship between the two of you start?
Yeah, so, we get into, there's been this effort to say that, okay, these exact dates are at issue, and these exact dates are, I'm getting signaled here.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, take it. You want to go off mic for a second?
Yes.
Okay. Go off mic for a second.
Wow.
Keep rolling. Don't stop down there. Stay as speed.
Wow. I'm going to explain to you guys in a minute why he's doing this, okay? Because this is very crucial to Fani Willis's disqualification. So there's a reason for why this is being done. This is why, like, I'm very surprised that Kaitlin Collins asked this question, right? But again, it appears that Nathan Wade is too stupid to give the right answer to the question, because ultimately at the end of the day, these people were lying the whole time, okay? So again, he was trying to make up something because he's lying, right? They've been lying the whole time about this. Wow.
That's good?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Still rolling.
Okay, we're good. Okay, good. We asked.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Just to revisit the question, it was to clarify when the romantic relationship started and when it ended.
Sure. So, I believe that the public has, through the testimony and other interviews, the public has a clear snapshot that this is clearly just a distraction. It is not a relevant issue in this case, and I think that we should be focusing on more of the facts and the indictment in the case.
Well,
Yeah, so again, why did he do this, right? Why did he do this? Well, the reason why he did it is because Fani Willis is currently facing disqualification for the apparent conflict of interest. Now, Judge McAfee ruled that, hey, Fani Willis can stay on the case, but Nathan Wade has to remove himself. Now, one of the reasons why Fani Willis wasn't forcefully disqualified is because of the fact that the court could not clearly establish when the relationship began. So therefore, you can't say for certain that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade lied on the oath, which again would be perjury, which would be a reason for Fani Willis to be disqualified, because at that point, she's not credible, okay? As a prosecutor, lying under oath to the court, right? Yeah, at that point, that would be grounds to have her removed. But because the court couldn't clearly establish when the relationship began, they can't say for certain that she lied on oath, although there's a strong odor of mendacity, which is what Judge McAfee outlined in his ruling, that, hey, I think you're lying, but we can't say for sure that you're lying. So what we're going to do is just, you can either remove yourself or you can remove Nathan Wade. But we're not going to force Fani Willis to remove herself. Now, again, Kaitlin Collins asking this question, again, is a damn good question, because if Nathan Wade answered that question the wrong way, a.k.a. he said that the relationship began before they started working together on the Trump case, then he would essentially be admitting that, yeah, we lied on the oath. Now, everybody already knows they lied on the oath because the defense presented evidence, in my opinion, when it comes to witness testimony. The woman that worked in Fani Willis's office that testified to observing the relationship, or Fani Willis being in a relationship with Nathan Wade long before the Trump case began. You also have cell phone records showing Nathan Wade going over to Fani Willis's place for a late night booty call. Like, we all have information and evidence that suggests that, hey, yeah, these two individuals were definitely in a relationship before they began working on the Trump case. Okay, so again, there is strong evidence that she lied on the oath and that he lied on the oath, and they should be held accountable for that. Now, again, this comes as Fani Willis has pulled a desperate attempt to get the RICO trial to happen before the election, because again, that is the purpose of all this, is to try to have Trump convicted on charges that people actually really care about, okay, and to also have the trial filmed and broadcast to the world, right? This is also what they want to do as well, too, to try to take down Trump. She's trying to get that to happen by filing a motion with the appeals court to have the disqualification hearing dismissed altogether, because she believes that there's really no grounds or no reason for the disqualification hearing to happen based off Judge McAfee's ruling.
But she's instructing the Court of Appeals that they got it wrong. They should never have granted this appeal. That's why she framed it as a motion to dismiss an improvidently granted appeal. And improvidently granted means it should not have been done. It was done inappropriately and improperly by the appellate court. And she's arguing that since this particular appeal is entirely premised on the factual findings made and sifted through by the trier of fact, the trial judge, Judge McAfee, and since they can't substitute as an appellate bench, they can't act as a supra trial court to substitute their judgment for his, they cannot reverse the decision, and they cannot grant the appeal and disqualify Fani Willis. So her argument is we don't have to wait around for the actual briefing of the appeal on the merits. We don't have to wait around till October for a potential oral argument or March of 2025 for a potential ruling. Dismiss the appeal now on procedural grounds, because the very basis, the very linchpin, right, should be pulled out from under Donald Trump, because you could never, under the circumstances here, you could never undercut or undermine or reverse the factual findings made by the trial court judge.
Yeah, so that is an anti-Trump Democrat Party activist explaining this motion from Fani Willis to have the appeal, to have her disqualified, dismissed. But at the same time, the anti-Trump propagandists, for as much as they want to hype up their audience that, hey, this trial may happen before the election, you also have anti-Trump propagandists saying that, well, it's likely that Fani Willis's motion probably won't work. And they're also kind of saying that one of the reasons why it won't work is because the Georgia appeals court is rigged, which is something that these left-wing propagandists spent the last 2 or 3 weeks telling us that we're not supposed to say about the New York Trump trial. But when it comes to cases and trials that aren't going their way, right, the way of the Democrats and the liberals, all of a sudden, oh, yeah, well, it's rigged.
The way she framed the arguments, that the credibility determinations have been made by Judge McAfee, that the factual findings that were entered by Judge McAfee were completely supported by the evidence of record, and there is no legal issue if you accept those credibility determinations and those findings of fact, as you must. There's no legal issue to revisit here. I think it's a straight-faced argument, maybe even a somewhat persuasive argument, but I'm not sure it's going to be a winning argument.
Well, I don't doubt the persuasiveness of the argument from the prosecutor's end, but I'm going to channel my inner cynic here and tell me if I'm way off base. But there is a part of me that believes that the Georgia appeals court, well, not only took this appeal up, but then agreed to hear it not until October and won't even rule on it until spring of 2025, because they were kind of doing Donald Trump's bidding in the sense that they were granting him the delay that he's seeking. If those people are acting in bad faith by virtue of giving him that delay and perpetuating these dilatory tactics, wouldn't they then be less likely to rule in prosecutors' favor because this wasn't being done for the right reasons anyway?
Sure. If they're acting in bad faith, a la, Justice Clarence Thomas or Justice Samuel Alito, then this is really a hopeless endeavor. But I don't know.
Do you think that's a fair read, or is it just that the appeals process takes a long time anyway? Am I being too cynical by thinking that the reason that it's going to be so far out, that we're not going to hear this, that this case isn't going to be heard until October and then not ruled on until March of 25, is that me being too cynical, or do you think that there is a little bit of unethical behavior that could be going on that we would have such a massive delay?
Yeah, metaphysically anything's possible, but I am not prepared to say that under sort of the facts and circumstances as we know them, I don't think we can leap to the conclusion that there's anything nefarious going on in the Georgia Court of Appeals. Okay. I don't know enough to reach that conclusion. I think it's smart to be cynical and to be critical of everything we see when it comes to litigation involving Donald Trump.
I couldn't possibly imagine why you would say that.
Yeah, so what you have there is Brian Tyler Cohen, who's a Democrat Party propagandist, okay? These are the same people that were telling you that you are a bad person if you say that the New York trial was rigged, okay, that Judge Merchan is playing for the Democrat Party, okay, you are undermining the criminal justice system. But this guy just sat there and undermined the Georgia criminal justice system by saying that, well, I think that the appeals court is in the bag for Trump, right? I think that they're acting in ways that are nefarious and they're trying to help Trump out, which again is undermining the system, right? But I thought we weren't supposed to undermine the system. I thought we were supposed to just accept the outcome no matter what. And we have to have faith in the process, right? This is what they told us. But when it comes to Judge Cannon, when it comes to the Supreme Court, when it comes to the Georgia Appeals Court, all of a sudden these people are telling us, oh, no, these people are acting in bad faith, right? These people are in the bag for Trump, which by definition is undermining the legal system, right? You are questioning the legal system, which is something they told us that we're not supposed to do. Again, hypocrisy of these Democrat Party propagandists is astonishing. It really is. So, anyways, the whole point, right, is that Nathan Wade fumbled, okay, or he was about to fumble when it comes to this question of when a relationship began, because part of the disqualification of Fani Willis is the fact that, hey, she lied on the oath, okay? She's not somebody that can be trusted because she doesn't have any integrity. And yes, there was a conflict because that relationship began before they started working on the Trump case, okay? And Fani Willis basically hired her boyfriend to be on the case in order to financially benefit because she's in a relationship with him. Now, the more I listen to this guy talk, okay, the less intelligent that I think that he is. So I'm personally in the camp of, yeah, she definitely hired this guy for reasons that have nothing to do with his actual ability, right, as a lawyer, okay, because he doesn't seem to be the most intelligent individual. But, you know, hey, maybe I'm off in regards to my reading of Nathan Wade. I don't know.
Ask because obviously it's still a pending matter. It's going to be before the Court of Appeals. And you talked about how proud you were of all the work that you did in this office. And I think the question that people have when they hear from the Court of Appeals, this isn't happening until next spring, is did the relationship jeopardize that work that you did in this investigation?
And therein lies the issue, why we wouldn't touch upon the work of the Court of Appeals or some higher court, because it's a pending issue before them. I think that we should allow them, take a step back and allow them to take the evidence that they have, and do their work, make the decision.
Right. Now, here's the thing. If this guy was telling the truth about the timeline of the relationship, all he had to do is say, yeah, the relationship began after we started working together on the Trump case. That's all he has to say, right? But again, because he's not telling the truth, okay, because he has to lie every single time he's asked this question, he can't give you a straight answer. His handlers had to come and get him, right? They had to come and get him before he ends up destroying Fani Willis's chances of actually staying on the case, right? It's just amazing how that works. When you lie, again, you get caught up in word salads, okay? That's just the reality of it. You always have to keep the lie going. But to me, again, it's just obvious that this guy is just not credible and that these people lied on the oath and they should be prosecuted for it.
But you did testify to this, and you were asked about, on the stand, about when it started and when it ended. It just wasn't completely clear because before it said, before the indictment, which was August 15th here in Atlanta, and then later the answer was at the end of that year. And so I think that was the clarity that people were seeking of when it started and when it ended.
Sure. And there again, there's a question before the court. And that is the crux of the question. I don't choose to say or do anything that would jeopardize the case or the court's ruling. I prefer to allow them to make their decision based upon what they have and accept it.
Do you believe, as you reflect on this, that your relationship with the district attorney was a mistake?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What I believe is this whole conversation is a distraction. That's all. It's a tool to stop the train, to slow down the inevitable, which is the trial of the defendants named in the election interference case.
Do you believe the trial ultimately happens?
Absolutely. Absolutely it happens.
Mr. Wade, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. Imagine putting mediocre cheeks on top of that. Imagine putting mediocre cheeks ahead of your career, right? I couldn't imagine doing something like that, right? But that is what this guy did, and he said he doesn't regret it. Well, we'll see. I mean, I personally think that because of that relationship, that is the reason that this trial is being delayed. So, hey, I have to be grateful to Nathan Wade and Fani Willis for making such a silly decision. So, hey, I'm not mad at him, right? I'm not mad at him at all. I just don't think that he's the brightest individual. But, hey, what do I know? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.